Here we go again. It's the 1st of May, a bank holiday, so I have not been shopping because the shops are closed. I did not even go to the shops finding out they're closed. I knew it ahead of time, which I have to say I'm quite happy with myself. In the past, I would have gone to the shops and realised it's a bank holiday. There's just a general catch up. I have a lot of things on my mind, so might as well get rid of those. First off, the good news, I guess, I managed to finally fold up my laundry. I managed to have a shower. Managed to clean up some of my place and some of the car, I guess. My indicator repeaters are now both watertight again and both intact, so that's something. Bodged it up with silicone theoretically is not within perfect legal, but I consider it maintenance, not replacement of parts, because I use all the original parts. I just add silicone to where they were fused originally. So nah, it's fine by me. Yeah, I guess legal opens up thing. I believe I'll shift some terminology sometime soon, or my use of vocabulary, from feels wrong to painful. More on that now, I guess. For me, when something feels wrong, it's worse than literal pain. To the point where I can't really do it. Other autistic people describe things as painful they cannot do due to their being autistic. And it might be very well for them it's literal pain, but I'm going to adopt the term for things like breaking the rules with me because it's not literal pain, but is worse. And I don't think people get when I say feels wrong that it's worse than painful. So I'll probably just switch to painful instead of feels bad, feels wrong, which I guess in some way is appropriation of people who feel literally painful, but meh. For me, feels wrong is worse than painful, but for regular people I communicate with it's not, I believe. So yeah. Today's drink of the day is Thomas Henry Spicy Ginger. It's the ginger beer mixerologists use in almost all the bars around town. And it's, in my opinion, the best ginger beer one can buy in Germany. This is actually labelled ginger beer, I just realised, so this must be import good because in Germany you cannot label things beer if they aren't beer. Ah. I did manage to lose patience with my plant and unearthed it, the most recent one that is. The others are all dead. It was sprouting but very slowly, so I packed it a bit near the top of the soil, made sure it was oriented the correct way and repacked it. And I used that opportunity to decide to sprout another seed because my success rate is indicating I might need that soon enough, I guess. I'm actually going to turn on the car fans because it's bloody warm. It's 27.5 degrees centigrade and we're in the shade. Not the first time today. Yesterday we had 30 degrees centigrade in the shade, which is at the point where it's too warm for my welfare. I guess that's part of this, but I'll get into another bit in a moment. Recently I've just been getting home and going to bed no matter the time, which means as early as like 5 p.m. And then living biphasic, not being productive in the second phase. I wouldn't mind biphasic sleep if I were productive in the second phase, but with not being productive, I guess it's just general recuperation. Feel odd. Not wrong, just odd. But the second thing I think might be cause of that, then again, all speculation, I'm not a professional in any field of the nature, is that 12 years ago I was diagnosed depressed. And At times in between, I said I've learnt to live with it, and these days I thought I'd overcome it for the most part. I believe I've just learnt to live with being depressed very well. To the point where I still am bloody depressed. My drive is still low for things. It's pure speculation, not professional. But I still have joyous and happy times, more so than people who are not depressed at times, which is kind of odd, I guess. But so I've overcome some of the symptoms, but I am still depressed. Have been going on for a dozen years now. Bloody hell. It's funny how life goes, I guess. I was reached out to by a person I'd offered my aid to in the past. I'd offered my aid to drive a couch because I happen to have this vehicle. They had reached out once prior for me to do taxi service, which kind of made me think they were extending the cable tow a bit hard, pulling on it a bit hard. Now they want me to help them move some stuff, not just drive, but also carry and park and so on. And I have other obligations to do, which I do aspire to do. I have a film to edit and a film to shoot and edit within the next week. I aspire to do them, but somewhere deep down I know I'm not going to be very productive tomorrow, which is the day they asked for. Well, anytime near future. But I still told them I was busy just because I offered my aid in good faith, and they're asking more than I'd offered. My offer's still good, but I don't think they'll ever be asking just what I offered. It kind of pains me to say this because I really would like to help people, but if they're asking more than you offer for helping, it's kind of not viable, you know. I got an apple. I was going through my place before I left for here, looking through the remnants of last Friday's shoot, the snacks that I had, and apples was what appealed to me, so here we go. I am at the point where I cannot do high speed in this car. The current time with the rear tyre, the left one is kind of dodgy. It's had a leak before due to sharp stone. I managed to pick it out, and tyre was not worth proper saving, but was worth keeping for a while, so I put some tyre fix fluid in it that softens up the inside and automatically fills punctures. But now I also have a screw in it, and I've had it in it for at least a week and a half, which is when I noticed it during a regular maintenance inspection, just because you have to inspect your car. You've got to make sure your brake lights work. I mean, how else are you going to drive, you know? Everyone else would be painful for me. There we go, here I am using new. That's going to be hard to adjust to, but I'll manage hopefully. I noticed it and I marked it on the rim where the screw was, and hasn't moved since. I'm certainly not moving it. Theoretically I do got a spare tyre and I could replace it for the meantime with that, but I believe the spare is 13 years old at this point, so I reckon that dodgy tyre with a screw in it's less bad than 13-year-old spare. The spare is something I aim to address when I have tyres changed. I'm going to have to buy 2 new tyres sometime soon. I already have a contact for a guy who can do it. It's going to cost me a load of money, which I ain't got this time, so that's going to be a fun one. But the rear tyre, passenger side, drinker side, not captain side, that's also worn but not illegal and not 13 years old. I think that'll become the new spare, and I'll have the spare replaced entirely. But before that, I got to get my money from German BAföG Amt, because first off, they cut me short from Jan through March because I was getting money for my internship. They were spending approximately most of the money to get to my internship and back. And admittedly, that's due to my wrongdoing or ill-doing. I applied for extension too late which means I haven't gotten nothing for April yet. And I am going to be able to pay next month's rent, but it's going to be a tight one, which is also why my shopping will be limited to really milk. Maybe one or two snacks, but I really shouldn't, you know. Good news is I got a lot of stocks, I guess. I got a lot of pasta and pesto at home, rice, all the stuff that lasts forever, cans, so I'll eat those for the meantime. One thing that have been dwindling due to demand of restocking increasing over time, but me being too broke for too long now, is things like soap and so on. A while ago I mentioned the fact I'd considered buying fancy soap, and I am still considering that. I haven't bought any cheap or fancy since the fancy have run out. I'm using down my cheap soap to the point where I got like half a bottle left, which is enough for 3 or 4 weeks, I guess. And once that is gone, I'd like to already bought some more of the fancy stuff. Then again, I might not be able to. We'll have to see. Because I really like what the fancy stuff do, and I believe it's worth it. I'm worth it. Oof. Though I'm built different. Which means I'll spend the money, but I'm not going to buy like quarter litre or litre at a time. I just want a box with like 12 litres at once and get some discount for buying those quantities, and then not have to worry about restocking, which is how I do most of my things. It's how I did soaps in the past. It's just I bought them in the supermarket because they went fancy. It's how I do my laundry detergent. It's how I do just about anything in my household, which is kind of a nice way of dealing with it, because you don't have to worry about buying something because you're running low. That being said, 2 years ago, a bit more, I bought the minimum order of a supplier of toilet roll, bog roll, B-roll, haha, which was 72 rolls, and I'm now down to 11 in reserve. So I'll have to buy some more of that sometime soon, but it's also going to cost money again. I guess the way I'm living is very privileged, but I might not have the funds to sustain it. And the phone's getting very warm because the screen just dimmed. Oh no, can't have that. Let's hope you don't break off. I don't break off. Another thing is, once I get a job after studies, once I do have to make money to pay my rent, first off I'm going to keep the same rent, which means it's going to be very affordable. But I think I don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck, which means I mean putting stuff aside. Which opens up the question whether I first bring my life in order, or bring my life in order over a longer period of time, but have stuff set aside, you know. Because I mean, spend what, $150 or so on soap, it's hella money, but it'll last me a year and a half too, so it's worth it, so I still spend less. It's hella privileged position or mindset, because one, I've got to have the space to store it all, which I don't really, but I can make the space. And I guess it do save me the worry. Like, I don't got to worry about, oh, do I got something to eat when I come home, because I got loads of cans and pasta and rice and so on stashed away for a rainy day. And ironically enough, temperature outside is 27 degrees centigrade, sky's blue, sun is shining, and it's pretty close to a rainy day, I guess. I mean, I'll certainly make next month's rent and bills and so on, that's not a problem. And beyond that, I believe I am legally entitled to money from the government for my student loan / grant, even if they haven't processed me, because by that point it'll have been 2 months since I've reapplied. So it should all work out. Gotta hope, at least, I guess. Like, I can't be near a window, either in the flat, even though they're tinted, but they still radiate infrared. Or outside without sweating my arse off permanently because it's just too bloody warm. Admittedly, I am wearing my vest, but vest and t-shirt, many people thought a week ago was bloody freezing cold. That I should dress properly, and now I'm fucking being boiled alive, you know. Being fried my own fat. Another thing I'm going to have to address in the near future, besides all the uni work I've got to do, which realistically I'll manage no props. Not due to being little work, but due to me being competent enough these days in the field, I guess, is the aspect of my disability accommodation of uni. Even though it was granted, and it was granted that I wouldn't have any excess bureaucracy to get such disability accommodation, they haven't followed through on it. And I don't believe I can legally sanction them by not paying uni fees for that. So I'll just have to report them, which I've been meaning to do for a long time, because they aren't up to spec with the law on many regard, particularly disability rights and so on. But that's again a load of bureaucracy, which I don't got the energy to deal with, man. That's the reason I applied for accommodation in the first place, you know. But you got to stand up for your right. Even if it means putting leisurely activities, hobbies, social obligations on back burner. I think I've got to do it. Just because what's the alternative? Let them tread all over me. To tread on me. Nancy Sinatra, these boots. I guess the good news is I got an MOT coming up in MOT equivalent to general inspection. TÜV, as it is colloquially known here, or Hauptuntersuchung, main inspection, as it is known correctly. And this car don't got much wrong with it. Like, I'll probably pass it for less than £1,000, which I guess I'll have to have by then. I mean, I need new tyres anyways, and I'll need those for the inspection as well. And I'll have to have one issue under the bonnet debugged for the diesel particulate filter pressure differential sensor wires, because some of the wire is rotten, or connector. I looked all I could without disassembling the front end of the car earlier, and as far as I can reach, the connectors are good as only one connector, so but guess I'll either have to take off the front end of the car myself or pay someone an arm and leg to do it. How hard could it be? Another thing I need to do, but that's simply for my own safety, not for general inspection standards, is with the cameras, dash cams. I've got to rewire up the back one, and I think I'll move it further back while I'm at it, because I've already got a new cable. I've had a new cable for more than a month. The cable to the back's broke, which is, I guess, shit, particularly as one can't redo the connectors, and it's just a coaxial cable, but you need to buy it with the connectors on because they're flimsy. Good news is I'll be able to use the original wire from the front to pull it back, so it shouldn't be too much work, but I've got to get around to it, you know. And I really shouldn't have driven here in the first place, because driving at the current time is financially irresponsible AF from me. I already got to drive day after tomorrow and perhaps tomorrow, and I'll probably have to put in my first reserve can latest beginning next week, which I'm not looking forward to, because there's money, well, not down the drain, out the exhaust, but still. But I guess you've got to pay to get around, you know. I mean, I could do public transport, but it's painful for me to be with that many people in that tight a space for any period of time. So, and I am using the term painful here because it's worse than pain for me, which I guess is a funny way of saying it, but I frankly don't care too much about literal pain. So each of their own, I guess. If you feel I'm appropriating the term because you're using it in its literal purpose, please leave a comment and complain there. I have wondered for a while now whether I should strip something like the sky inside the car, the roof cover, and so on. But I don't got nowhere to put them. I guess I could put them in my cellar, but I'd risk the mold, growing mold, not molden. I don't think I'm up for risking that. I have considered running conduit from the front to all the way in the back of the car, just because it's going to be handy at a later point in time. Most certainly is. I don't have any conduit, but it's not too expensive, is what I was going to say, but it's too expensive, so I'm not running conduit. Fuck that. Guess the good news is I got all the tools I could need, so I can do work on my own. If I am to take off the front end of the car, though, I want to do it at my former place of internship, where I can do it under a roof. Not that a thunderstorm coming, I'm all wet, and I have to reassemble it in the wet. I mean, how hard could it be? No, but I also got the privilege of a guy at my former place of internship who's on a low hour basis but hang around a lot because he's a friend of another guy who worked there. Being your master mechanic, or master whatever modern equivalent is, mechatronic. And if I really needed help, I'm sure he'd be up for helping me. I mean, like I've helped him, he helped me, why not, you know? Ooh, have you got a tow rope? Yeah, sure thing, there you go. Okay, good, let me tug on this frame and bend it straight again. Totally different, unrelated subject to what I've had thus far. But currently Tuesdays I got a course at uni, which is actually quite fun, even though it's not very it's not by the book. I don't believe we should be doing what we are in the course, but it's fun and no one is going to complain, so I guess it's alright. Which is kind of a philosophy exercise, apparently with some design attached to it toward the back end, but I'm not looking forward to the design bit, but the philosophy exercise of it's fun, because one get to define terms, use terms, figure out shit. My one classmate ain't too fond of it, because they frankly don't care. They're just there for the paper. Not the paper money, but the paper of saying they got a bachelor's degree. To be fair, that's the main reason I'm there anymore, but I figure if I'm there already anyways, I might as well try and have a good time, you know. Friday I got another half shooting day, again with my elective. That'll become like a weekly thing for the next few weeks. Good news is I won't have to produce or direct anymore because I've done my bit last Friday. And I just got to go through the roles, which are all simple enough, I guess. Camera, assistant, audio, lights. Easy enough. Like, it's just got to know the tech. Don't got to worry about interactions with humans. So I got that out of the way already, and I guess I'm looking forward to that, and I'll be able to train some second semester some good habits. Just because last week they were at times completely lost. With booking the equipment for this week, I did tell them, "Oh, you need this for that, and this for that," and they didn't book one of the things, but they'll find out. I told them all I could. I don't want to force my beliefs upon them. If they think they can solve it in a different way, or they have their own kit, they can feel free to bring it. But you do need rods to attach focus pulling motors to if you're planning on doing wireless follow focus. So, yeah. I just got to know ahead of time when I'm doing the sound, because I want to bring my own recorder, because I really don't like the Zoom stuff, which is what uni got. I'm more of a Tascam person. And I guess I'm kind of young to be sticking to one brand loyally, but the Tascam make way more sense to me, all their interface and so on, than the Zoom stuff. So, I mean, with the Zoom H5 particularly, their handheld stereo recorder, I really don't like the button on the side which goes up, down, in. It's like dangerous, it's a flicky thing that you can accidentally push in. I like a wheel you can spin to adjust your levels. It's an absolutely lovely way. And I guess I'm privileged enough to have one, so might as well use that then. Then again, didn't buy that myself. My dad bought it in exchange for me recording some crickets and helping him record some other stuff. I actually came across those crickets the other day, the recordings of them. I got half an hour of steady crickets. And I am probably going to use some of them for the uni project I've yet to shoot, which is a poetry film. And I've decided to do, I think I've told this before, but I might as well tell it again. I've decided to do Thomas Dillon's Do Not Go Quietly Into That Good Night, and just need some Atmo in the back and something like crickets slowed down by 1024 times or so. Random power to number, I guess. That should work for just atmosphere. Obviously the pitch is also going to go down, but you don't want crickets high pitch, so something like that should work. Like, I'm honestly not too fussed about it, because I know I can do it in the afternoon if I stick to the programs I know. And I'd actually rather make it an exercise of learning Blackmagic Resolve instead of using the Adobe suite, because I'm not fond of Adobe in the long term. I want to get rid of them later this year, my subscription, because it's a load of money and I don't get enough out of it. I'd rather buy the pro version of Resolve, and you don't even got to buy it to use it, so for most of the aspects. But I still got to learn that, so that's, I guess, what I'll do. Another thing I've come to is, I wouldn't say it pains me to do, but it's rather difficult for me. It's not that I can't, but it's difficult. I got to free up some hard drive space, because my RAID array this time is a mirrored one, so it's redundant, so I don't got to worry about a platter failure. There's only 16 terabytes, and I'm running out of space. With the two projects I got to edit, I'm not going to have enough space, so I'll have to delete some of Working Title, Smoke and Mirrors working files, which I really don't have to keep, because yes, they took compute, but the result for those have been given. Like, I have the film complete, and I already have a short list of festivals I want to hand it in at. Mostly commission-free ones, where you don't got to pay to partake, and for Berlinale next year, I think I might even try and find the money to actually partake, either pay, you got to pay for it. But I reckon it's worth it, just because apparently it's even more impressive for other people than it is for me. I can sit there for 20 minutes straight and watch it all the way through in one sitting. And that's experimental abstract film, so I don't think it's harder to keep someone glued to the screen than with regular film, storytelling, narratives and shit. But I like experimental, so it's what I done, and it keep me glued to the screen. I believe it keep others glued to the screen, so why not, you know? Uh, yeah, today being the 1st of May, I couldn't have driven further if I wanted to, even though it's not responsible. I probably would have. But today, town centre is off limits for me because there's too many people and too much of everything. I'd consider driving out into JWD, middle of nowhere, but I can't afford the diesel and I wouldn't have gotten enough out of it because I'm too low energy. If I go home after this now, I might still have the energy to play some video games, which is not productive, but at least it's doing something, not going to bed right away, so it's a win if I manage to, I guess. Another thing, meta discussion level, is I've noticed these have been getting longer. Now I think that's because I don't take the time I need as often as I should to sit down and talk. And that's something I might try and change, but we'll see how it goes. We'll find out. Because I got hella stuff on my mind, but somewhere deep down I also got the aspect of I'm not worth it. This is a waste of time trying to fix my mental state and get aligned with the world. And I know that's just depression speaking, but it still come from somewhere deep down. And again, haven't been depressed for approximately half the life I've had. Considering that I've been depressed all my adult life, that's not too big a surprise. Ooh, whoa. My ginger beer falling over scared me there. I was like, what is that weird noise? Yeah, so I'm hoping to get home and play some video games after. I'll manage that, you know. I guess one more smoke and then I'll wrap it up. Because smoking kills. Unalivement on credits. I think I've already named something that, so I can't name this that. Hell, who knows, if I'm very productive, I might even manage to sit down in front of the mic for 5 minutes and read Thomas Dillon's Don't Go Quietly Into That Good Night. Because realistically, that's all it takes. 5 minutes. It's just reading. Rage. Rage against the dying of the light. Oh, another thing, I guess. German TV tax equivalent, Rundfunkgebühr, which used to be called GZ. Now it's just Rundfunkgebühr, Rundfunkbeitrag. They sent me a bill. I can retroactively apply to be exempt, which I will. But to apply retroactively, I'll need my certificate of student loan / grant, BAföG, which I haven't gotten yet. So I can't at this time retroactively apply, so I just got to wait. with a bill in my name, which is real, walking dangerously close to painful. And if I had enough money right now to not have to worry about it, I probably would have paid them by now, even though I wouldn't have to. Then again, if I had enough money, I wouldn't be in the situation, so nah. And I do understand they have an important place in their existence. I do not think one should have to pay a flat rate for having a flat in a country, even if one don't consume the government's media, or government-funded media. It's like the idea of the government getting taxes for some of the churches. Not right. Don't feel good. Don't feel quite right. Something like conflict of interest and shit. It's not the government's job. And yeah, okay, they might not be able to sustain themselves public broadcast if they didn't have the funding. But if they can't sustain themselves and the government can't get the funding otherwise, that means they're not economically viable. And yeah, okay, there's good things that are not economically viable. But things like the BBC or so, I mean, hell, they do good shit. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are economically viable these days on some levels, like Planet Earth and so on. Because they cost an arm and leg to make, but they're also viewed across the world, which I believe is a very rare thing for German media. So, I guess one day I might work in a studio with one of theirs. I ain't gonna have no gigs with them because I'm not aiming to work gigs, but guess I'll have to pay the €30 a month starting October this year once I'm done being a student legally. That's a lot of money. I guess it relativises other expenses like car insurance. Oh, car insurance brings up another subject, I guess. I have been looking into what the expenses around it would be to get a not quite a motorcycle license, but an expansion of my car license that requires minimum effort and no exam to be allowed to ride 125 cubic bikes, just because it's more viable in the long run for commuting to work. And I say only, but looking like getting that license is going to cost less than £1,000, which is only because it's a license. Hell, getting a proper bike license, it costs a couple of grand. And I see it as a kind of cheat code to get experience as two-wheeled motor vehicle on the road without having to pay someone for that experience once you have the slip. Then at a later time, it's just a matter of doing the theory course with some driving school and taking a test. Just because, why not? You know, it gives freedom. I mean, okay, my skull's a big veto, I guess. Weil ich einen Dachschaden habe. I already looked into helmets and kit and so on, and to have recommended gear, because I'm bloody geared, you know, for riding motorcycles would be less than £1,000 as well. I mean, it's still a lot of money, and considering you can buy good used motorcycles in that size for less than £2,000, it'd probably be about 2 months worth of paychecks, which means 3 months if I live sparsely, or 4 months if I live comfortably. And I have a bike, all the kit I needed, and a license, which would save a lot of commuting costs in petrol. And considering commuting costs and petrol are flat rate, deducted from your income for income tax, I'd actually make money doing it. So I still got to figure out how long I'd have to do it for it to be a profitable, viable idea. But I reckon it's a matter of low single-digit years of commuting. Then again, it have increased risk of mortality and so on as well. Because in this thing, if someone else decide, "Ooh, I'm blind and I'm just going to drive right into them," I'm at least in a big metal box. On a motorbike, I wouldn't be. Funny how that worked, really. Anyways, hope you're in a big metal box or no one missed seeing you. Because being round on two wheels must not be fun. No matter if you're motorised or not. Stay safe, cheerio.